There's a very real possibility I'll be out of a job because of AI.
What other mistakes do people make when they're trying to grow a YouTube channel?
They make the video first and they don't come up with the packaging, the thumbnail and title first.
Clickbait gets views. Where's the line?
It's been around forever. Big claims get clicks. You can come up with the most outrageous flipping statements in the world as long as you pay it off. And that's why you need to do it first. You have to work out what people will click on, because if you can't get a click, nothing works.
Mr. Beast, what are your thoughts?
I worry for him, but there's only one way down from the top, right?
Criticism in comments and negativity.
Yeah, everyone struggles with it, but I've come up with a really good solution. Never look.
Never look at your stats at all.
I haven't looked because the damage it does to you. Like, you cannot have that thing on your phone. It's so bad for your brain.
This is the man who makes millionaires out of people with small YouTube channels. This is the podcast that every aspiring content creator needs to watch. Okay, so if someone were to come to you and say, like a niece or a nephew, right? And they say, Uncle Ed, I want to be a YouTuber. How would you respond to that?
I'd probably start off and say, this isn't a very good thing to say to a small niece or nephew, but I don't tend to deal with children. I'd say, what's your goal?
Okay.
Why do you want to start a YouTube channel? That would be my first question.
Yeah.
And then everything else I would say would very much depend on whatever the answer to that question was. So do you want to play the niece or the nephew?
I could, yeah. Shall I pretend to be one of them and go through?
Yeah,
okay, so let's assume they're a bit older, right? 18, let's say, and they go, I see YouTubers making loads of money. They're famous. They seem like they have fantastic lives. That's what I want to do.
Okay, well, in that case, if you want an easy life, don't be a YouTuber. Be a business person with a YouTube channel.
Okay.
If you want a hard life and you want to make not much money and you want to probably fail and spend years getting nowhere and then be a small percentage of people that get through, be a YouTuber. But otherwise, you want to be thinking, okay, what's a big problem I can solve? Not like the biggest problem, but what's a niche that I can go into and carve out a space and solve a big problem people have with loads of free content, and then produce a product that gives them a system and a process to follow that they pay for to solve it even faster. And that is the best way. And that will get you the lifestyle that everyone thinks a YouTube creator has. It's often the complete opposite. It's chaos and they're working 15-hour days. That's what I would recommend.
Okay, so quite a shift in mindset. So given that, I imagine you wouldn't consider yourself a YouTuber then. You consider yourself a business owner. You do?
It was a big mistake.
Okay.
And I regret it. And really, I realized that there's such an easier way to build a following and make money online than trying to get as many views as possible.
Okay. And is that what you see as what a YouTuber's trying to do? It's trying to get as many views as possible?
Yeah. So there's the entertainment channels, right? And they're playing a very different game. I specialize in information-based channels. I call them info businesses, coaches, consultants, people who want to create courses, people who want to create a business, basically. The YouTuber, the traditional one, is mainly going, I want to make content to get loads of views. And that's great fun. But what happens is you basically become a slave to your audience. You can't take time off. If all of your income comes because you're getting ad revenue, you turn that views, you turn off the content, you turn off your income, and then you're very much scared of your audience. When you do it the way that I suggest to people, you can take 6 months off and double your income, making less content, so long as you stick to a certain plan, which is basically what I did over the last 6 months. I didn't post any videos and doubled the business. And now I have 2 hours a week I have to work, and that's it. Whereas when I was a YouTuber, I was doing 12, 15 hours a day, making McDonald's money.
Okay, so you were a YouTuber, but you feel like you've changed things. How did you become a YouTuber? How did you get to that point?
So originally what I wanted was, I had a production company and I was desperately trying to get our blog ranked on Google. And back then, I don't know how it works now, I'm assuming it's similar. You had to have backlinks to get authority so that you could rank. And you used to have to do outreach. And I was like, this is crazy. No one's going to reply to me. Like, I'm a nobody, right? Why are they going to link to this random blog they don't care about? So I was like, I need to become a somebody. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll grow a YouTube channel and I'll get 500,000 subscribers. And then people will link to me. That was my genuine plan. I thought it was going to be easy. And because basically I'd ranked loads of videos on search, quite easily back then. So I was like, I'll just go and rank loads of content on search. I can spit out these videos, no problem. And I did that and kind of got nowhere. And I was like, And then it started to bother me. And I was like, hang on a sec. How does this work? Why are some people growing faster? Why aren't others? And it just completely sucked me in. And then I was incredibly driven to be like, I want to crack this now. So I switched from posting 3 videos a week for search to 1 every 2 weeks. just going for these like bigger productions. And they would take me 2 weeks. Like when I'm on 2 weeks, like the second I woke up, I am starting to do YouTube until I sleep. And then at 3 a.m. when I'd wake up, I'd be like, oh, I've got this new idea. And it just like consumes you. And I did that for 18 months. Channel grew really quick. And then I'd started doing a bit of consulting and stuff like that. And then I was like, hang on a sec. This doesn't work. I need to find a better way than working nonstop, because how am I supposed to, it was already a full-time job and a half. How am I supposed to bolt on a business that I actually want to grow here when I've already got a job and a half and my production company I had? So I had 2.5 jobs. Right?
That sounds hard.
Yeah. So I left my production company and just gave my half to my business partner, just went all in. And one of the first things I did was decide to not focus on YouTube anymore. I had a following. I started to cultivate one. I was like, I need to focus on building a product. So I built a simple product, launched that, and it did really well straight away. So then I built a bigger one, and that did really well straight away. And then I thought, right, I better build a bigger thing. So I created like a 10-week cohort, and then that sold out straight away. And then I was like, oh, I've got capacity issues now. Like I need more. I need something that can, take on more people, because it's dumb just capping things at 30. So that was kind of my journey. And then over the last year, I just spent rebuilding my entire course, and I just stopped making content, but at the same time just focused on Twitter and email, and that basically grew the business. Now, I know you asked the question, how did you become a YouTuber? But really, I kind of became one and then stopped, because I wanted to switch focus so that then I could go back to being one. Because if you don't have a product or a service or something that you can actually make money from, you just end up on this hamster wheel forever. So that was kind of my own personal journey. And it's what I'm teaching people now is not to do it the way I was doing it originally, because you can get a massive financial payoff much faster.
Okay. So the plan is to go back to being what you would consider a YouTuber and making content more regularly.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go back to be like I was. I'm never going to go back to doing that again, because I was just ill like every few weeks. And now I've systematized way more stuff, and I have way more process in place, and I'm working with the editors and stuff. I was literally doing everything myself. So yeah, now I'll probably write for a couple of hours or do a couple of hours a day on YouTube, and that'll be it. But I'll still put effort in. But the reason being is like, okay, now I have a product that is more scalable. So I'll go back to content to fund all the hard work I'm putting into YouTube and the product.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about YouTube is it's evergreen. So you can actually just stop. And this is why I think this is a better option, because you can take 6 months off and actually make more money, because you switch your focus to building a product and marketing it, just using the goodwill you've built up over years from your YouTube channel, as well as the evergreen views that keep coming in, because your videos just keep getting views, unlike Instagram where they just stop. I've got videos that are 3 years old that's just bringing people to the channel, and then they can eventually become clients. So if you're not afraid to switch off, and if you're happy to treat this like a business, you can get a big payoff pretty quick.
I mean, that still seems like a brave step. Like, I totally get what you're saying, but if you said to me, stop making YouTube videos for 6 months, I'd be there like, oh, I'm going to, leads are going to drop
YouTube
off.
Videos and put all that effort into your something else, product, Twitter, anything else, you'd probably either maintain it or make more, because you've got your personal brand. It does not work like this for everyone, but I've been testing this, right? So I built a product to help YouTubers launch their first product, and it's like a 4-week thing. They literally just follow every single step, and I tested it, and I put 40 people through it. They'd never had launched anything, all different sizes, from like a few thousand, like under 10,000 subscribers to like 1 million subscribers. And I said to them, do not post whilst we're doing this. And all of them came off significantly better. One lady was like, cool, I'm just going to post once a month now. I've just realized I don't need to keep posting all the time, because now I have this product and can make a new one. It's actually counterproductive for me to continue to make content, because it keeps me poor. Whereas when I focus on the business, it has the opposite effect. So you don't want to go off for too long, but also stopping and focusing intensely on one thing that has a bigger long-term impact on your business is a smart thing to do. And I've not seen anyone at all do this and come off worse.
Are those people that already have a personal brand to some extent? Because obviously if you don't have the audience to then sell the thing you're building to, it might be not the best use of time at that point.
Well, yeah, you don't do it because you have to have a following. So the thing is, everyone who has a bit of a following lives in fear of not communicating with that following on YouTube. But the way I look at it is like this. So in the UK, right, football, soccer, whatever you call it, is massive. My dad will sit there and he'll say, George Best, greatest player of all time. And then I'll turn around and say, Wayne Rooney, greatest player of all time. Then some young kid now will be like, Rashford, greatest of all time. I'm never going to turn around and agree that Rashford is the best. And my dad's never going to say Rooney, right? Because you like carry through the season of player that you grew up with. And YouTube's very similar. So I don't watch any business advice channels, apart from the ones that I've been watching for the last 10 years. And I don't even watch them, but I still look up to them. And I'm like, if I need help with that, that's the first person I'm going to, even though I've not watched a video for ages. So if you look at YouTube as like these seasons where you can grow a following, and then, for 5 years, you can just build this audience with a certain group. You don't actually have to keep going back finding new all the time. It's why people like Chris Do from the future, he's got his 2 million subscriber channel, and he's not playing the YouTube game where he's trying to blow up videos. He's just maintaining it. But I will agree that Chris Do is one of the greatest, and I would happily pay him money for anything. I haven't watched him for years. So yeah, I look at it in levels, right? You're either a level 1, 2, or 3 creator, and you basically do different tasks based on what level you're in. And this will enable you to not burn out, to make more money, to grow faster, and to grow a business faster, and to scale infinitely faster. So level 1, you have no following. So you have to just focus intensely on YouTube. That's long form. So forget short form. I would probably say forget everything. Just focus everything you can on growing a YouTube following. Once you are starting to get about 3 to 10,000 views per video, depending on your niche, some niches it's way more profitable getting like a few thousand views than others where it takes like 100,000. So if you're solving a problem, health, wealth, and relationships are the most kind of profitable. If you're getting 3,000 views per video, you want to be thinking about getting your email list to about 1,000, which you can do very fast on YouTube doing particular things. And then you switch, make a product, something simple. Now it can be consulting, it can be an info product. It depends on your goal. And then once you have that, you go back to YouTube to promote it. But then what you suddenly have is every video you make, sales come in. Whereas before they didn't. So if you already have an offer and you're a business owner and you're thinking about growing a YouTube channel, you're already in a good position, because some of the guys that I've worked with, they've put out like one video and landed 8 leads straight away and generated a lot of money from them because their offer's good and their business is good. So level 1 is all following. Level 2 is about having an offer. The second half of level 2 is all about going back to just pushing YouTube growth to build your email and build your business. And then there's the third stage, and this is where you go all out attack, where you do shorts, short form video, you're repurposing Twitter, email, LinkedIn, and you're just creating this huge content machine to just drive as much volume as possible. The problem is most people try and start there, which means they're trying to grow on 5 different places at once. They don't even know how to do it on one platform. They completely lose focus. Nothing works and they fail. So that's what I recommend to people. And then you look at them and you say, well, where are you? What level are you at? Okay, here's your 10x task to focus on. Go do it till you hit it. And then we'll look at switching.
Okay. That's really interesting, the way you laid that out. So let's assume someone's a level 1 and they're trying to decide what niche to go ahead and create content within. What would you advise? How should someone think about that?
If you want a quick win, you want to pick a niche that solves a big problem, but you want to pick a niche where you have the credibility to solve that problem. So if you don't have any credibility in, the information you're trying to pass on, it's going to be a lot harder. And you have to put more effort into the production, and you have to take on bigger videos, and you have to really play the YouTube game very well you have to learn how to become a YouTuber. The guys who have a ton of credibility, who are like, I've scaled businesses to like 10 million or whatever, right? They can just hop on camera half the time and say, I did this. I don't know if you've seen Will Brown. He's a YouTube creator. 5 months ago, started consistently just posting videos to YouTube, no editing. He's doing, I think 350K he did last month. He's getting about 5,000 views per video. But he's just got so much credibility, like it's undeniable proof. Like when you hear him talk and what he's achieved and how he teaches, you just sign up. So if you've got a ton of credibility, just go after the problem that you can solve and tell your stories of how you would do it and how you have done it. If you don't have that, you've got to be thinking, okay, how do I make it look credible? How do I how do I, over the long term, build an undeniable wall of proof on my channel that I can help solve this problem? And that niche for people in the business space, if you've already got a business, you've already got the niche. If you don't, this is where everyone struggles. They're like, what niche do I go after? For me, it was never a problem. I was like, we'll go after the thing I'm passionate about and I'm interested about. But a lot of people don't even have that passion. They kind of just go, oh, I want to teach like self-help. So I'm going to make a video about like why you're not happy. And then another one that's like, oh, how to make money and all this. And they're completely unfocused and they just try and grow in multiple niches at once and it doesn't work. So whichever one you're qualified to talk about is the best. Other after that, it's whichever one you're interested in the most, because you're going to be talking about this for like 3 to 5 to 10 years maybe. So you need to make sure you're interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like my scenario, I started making videos on Facebook ads because I had a Facebook ads agency and we worked with clients and we knew what we'd do. You know, it was so obvious to do that space. It solves a big problem for people. But I have been making videos on it for 8 years. So you definitely have to be interested in something for you.
I think the problem a lot of people have is they put so much stakes on it. So they're like, oh, what's my niche? What am I going to talk about? And it's like, generally, I find the people who do the best, they don't even think that. They're just like, this is what I'm going to talk about. They know what their niche is. If you're really, really, really struggling to pin down like what you're even going to talk about, it's not the best sign because you need conviction in whatever it is. Now, there's sometimes it's like, okay, I'm in a business niche. Do I talk about productivity? Do I talk about sales? And that's slightly different. But if you just can't pick at all, it means you're probably not that interested in one thing.
You just want the rewards, and there's not the foundation there to.
Yeah,
well,
there's the argument of like it's art, right? And there's the fun side. And if that is the case, just go and make challenge videos or talk about things that you're interested in. But the more targeted you are, the better here. Because what happens is you'll put out 15 videos and you'll get hardly any views, and you'll just be deflated that you've spent months working on this. And this is the general advice that people give is, just try stuff. But I don't like that because people quit very fast when they don't see results. If they come at it with a more strategic approach where they're like, right, I have a plan, I have a strategy, I've researched, I know what I'm going to make. It does suck the fun out of it to start. But if their 5th video gets traction, that might have bought them another year. If it doesn't, they might be thinking, I'll give up. This is too hard. And the only way to really win YouTube is just to keep going.
How long, and I know it's going to vary, of course, but how long should someone expect to be a level 1 for before they can get to level 2?
I can give you pretty exact answers on this. So it goes back to what you've got. So level 1, let's say you've got no business offering and no experience on YouTube. You need to do 3 years before you're likely to probably be able to make the switch to full time. Now, that is all based on a couple of things. 1, you don't quit. And 2, you learn how to do YouTube properly. You don't just assume, I know this all, I'm just going to do what I want. Like you just have to find a source of information and knowledge and a process and system to stick to. And if you do that and you're consistent, 3 years, I think for most people will get them a very healthy income. So long as 18 months in, they're in a position, like I said, where they're sort of getting 3,000 to 10,000 views per video and they switch to focus on that. That's going to give them money to buy an editor. That's then going to give them double the amount of time and double the amount of focus, which means double the amount of results. If you have a business offering and you have no following experience or YouTube experience, I'd probably say you can get a result in 6 to 12 months, so long as you have a lot of credibility and your offer's already optimized. So if you're already getting sales, right? And let's say you've got you're building a business, you've got say a sales team in place. You do see people on YouTube put out a few videos, get a few hundred views and go, we landed 3 clients. And it actually happens quite a lot. These are the guys that I kind of specialize in helping. One of my clients does LinkedIn content and he's getting like 3,000 views per video. His turnover is matching the growth of his channel. He did a graph and he put it next to the views his channel's getting versus sales. So those guys can actually be quick, but again, they need the proper systems. And if they're going to have to get you spin on camera. If they're already quite good at presenting, which a lot of business owners are because they might have done talks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It helps.
Or selling.
Then the next, sorry?
Or selling. You get good at
selling. All this sort of stuff helps, right? It's confidence. The next type is they have a following, they have no offer. So those guys can get big success within a matter of weeks, just building a simple product. I mean, trying to think of the person who's done the most. I think the best result I've seen in the first month was $50,000. And this is from a low ticket offer they put out that took a few weeks to make. So that you can get a massive return quick. And then the another fast one is I have a business, I have a YouTube channel, and a lot of the time they come to me and they say, Ed, I want to grow my channel more to get more views. And I usually look at their landing page and say, why don't you fix the landing page or the offer first and try and get more from the views you've already got. It's the quickest win. And then once you've done that, switch to pushing more people towards that offer. And those guys can get a really quick win.
Going through that stage, you mentioned, let's say 3,000 views a video. Is there a subscriber number that matters, or do you not care about that at all? No,
the subscriber count is kind of a status thing. It does have benefits. Like I have 300,000, and when I only found this out the other day, but apparently people want to sit next to me at meetings because I'm the guy with 350,000 subscribers. I was like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? This is real. And they were like, yeah, they want to talk to you because you've got a status of subscribers. So it does. This was a new realization to me. Otherwise, no, because you can inflate them with like short form. So really what you just want is people returning to your content. You want return viewers. And if you've got 10,000 return viewers every video you make, that is a stadium. It's an arena, right? It's a huge amount of people. You don't need more than that. Now, it's very niche dependent. This, like, if you're in the entertainment niche, you need a lot more. If you're very heavily dependent on selling lots of low ticket offers, then maybe you're going to need more over the long term. But if you've got a decent offer that's thousands, or multiple low ticket offers, it can add up pretty quick.
Yeah. The 3 years, say starting from nothing, the 3-year time horizon, I think would be daunting for a lot of people. I often quite like those sorts of things because it means the barrier to entry is that much larger. And it means that if you are willing to go through the 3 years, then you're in a much more secure position because you know that a lot of people aren't going to be willing to go through that. Do you have any numbers or any ideas on the amount of YouTubers that quit after just a few videos? I mean, I heard with podcasts, for example, if you create 21 episodes, you're in the top 1% just by getting to 21.
I'd say 99% of people quit. Yeah. Probably more. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the data is, but it's no one understands how hard YouTube is because you have to. Well, firstly, they don't put enough emphasis on the idea. So I want to make this video about this topic, and then they make it and no one watches it. It's like, because they haven't realized how to package that into something clickable. And that is the hardest bit. It's turning your idea into something people will click on. And it's psychology and understanding your audience. And you can only really get good at that once you've been doing it for a while and seeing what works and what doesn't. So there's testing to be done. And then you have to learn to present, film, edit. And then there's graphic design, thumbnails, Photoshop, editing software. But I think the hardest thing, because you get a lot of satisfaction and enjoyment out of that, and some people love it. I enjoy that part as well. The hardest part is the mental battle of, especially if you have credibility in terms of, like, let's say you've built a business to 10 million, and I come across this quite a lot, and everyone tells you how amazing you are, and you put your first video out and it gets 50 views, and then the next one gets 10. It's like, what? And I have guys in my community who have got like 50 businesses, some 9-figure guys, and they've said YouTube's the hardest thing they've ever done because they constantly get knocked back by this, like, the views validating them, right? So it's the mental struggle of putting as much effort you can into something and getting knocked back. And I think YouTube's just a game of who can take getting punched in the face for as long as possible and who can't.
Who's got a lot of perseverance. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what it's like, right? You make a video and then you look at it and it's like, it's not performing as well as I'd hoped. And then you sit and look in the data for ages, then you kind of feel bad. But then when they're doing and they outperform and videos blow up, it's so addictive. You're like, this is amazing. You can't stop checking. So it's the mental battle that's the biggest struggle. If you can put up with that and you're willing to just do it for 3 years, you just win.
Yeah, just by keeping going. I look back and I remember I started creating YouTube videos early 2016 and didn't really get anything from it, as you say, until I remember 2019 being like, this is something significant for my business now. We get significant lead volume. So that's 3 years. And
3 years for you, is it?
What's that?
It's been 3 years since you started.
No, I started in 2016.
Oh.
And then by 2019, my YouTube channel was a significant driver of leads for my business. So it took those 3 years. And I think I got maybe just a little sniff and early enough to keep going with it. Like I was getting those videos with 50 views, but I might have got someone inquired for it. Maybe they didn't become a client, but you think, okay, well, this has got 50 views. There are guys in my space that are getting 50,000 views on videos. If I get anywhere near that and we get, you assume the ratios are somewhat similar, this is going to be amazing. So I just got enough to keep going. Obviously very glad I did. But yeah.
That will happen. That you'll get sniffs coming in. And you'll get, through COVID, when I had the production company, it kept our business going. Because it was an in-person production company. The only reason our business didn't go down the pan is because one person saw our YouTube videos and was like, oh, I need a whole course producing. Do you know anyone who can present it and film it and edit it and write it? And I was like, yeah, I can do all of that.
Right.
And then, it's just like pulled us through. And that all came from YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting you mentioned about subscribers, about the journey that I think people go through with YouTube, where they start out and that's what they really want, when they don't really know what they're doing. And then they sort of realize, actually, subscribers maybe don't matter. It's all about the views and obviously the relationship with the audience, things like that. And then, like you said, I think it's easy to get to stay there for a while. And I was definitely there. And you start getting to the point where you think, oh no, actually, a large subscriber number does open doors. There is value to this. It will get you invited to do stuff and opportunities and things along those lines.
Yeah, so it's odd, right? So there's different levels. So you'll get 10 views on a video and you might have said something amazing. And one person watching could be the head of a massive corporation who was like, you are spot on. Like everything you said is perfect. This is what we're looking for. And it happens where you just get the right viewer watching. And they don't care about the subscriber count. But there's definitely... Maybe I've forgotten what it was like not to have a following, but it surprised me when people introduce you as the guy with X amount of subs, especially when I know you can artificially inflate them by just like blasting out short form content and meaning nothing. But I would just focus on community, bringing people back. If you do that, the subscriber count will look after itself.
Okay. You have a channel, Film Booth, that has 367,000, something very close to that, subscribers on it. So, we know we talked about subscribers not necessarily being that big a deal, but really large audience, that grew really quickly. And then you started a new channel, Creator Booth. Why did you do that?
Yeah. So Film Booth, I think when you start something, you have a general goal and an idea of what you want to achieve. And my own journey was, I wanted to help YouTube creators get more views. And then I realized I like talking about marketing. That's what I got into this for. That was kind of the thing I was most passionate about. And I can't talk about it on this channel because 60% of the viewers are gaming channels, 18-year-olds, 24-year-olds. And I was like, this isn't the audience that I kind of set out to serve in a business sense. And it's not my passion. Like I like talking about editing and stuff, but I'm not as passionate about it as I am marketing. I don't know. It's just the way that my brain works, right? And so I was like, well, I can't do it both on the same channel. And I also didn't want to, because what I'd built on Film Booth, I was quite proud of. And I didn't want to keep making videos about marketing in the same level of effort that I put in terms of like, if people have seen them, they're quite big productions sometimes. And I was like, I want something simpler, which will just keep me satisfied. I can talk about something else. There's a different string to my bow. And I just want to help YouTubers market better, because that's what I'd noticed is they were all trying to chase views when most of them just needed better marketing. So I just started another channel. And the idea was, these aren't things that are supposed to take me very long. It's hyper specific. But I wanted to prove to people that you only need 10,000 views per video. So my goal per video is, as long as it gets 10K, I don't care. I don't look at the data. I'm not trying to optimize every second for attention, make thumbnails that I spend forever on. And that channel has been pretty epic. Like within a week, it had opened doors that never would have been opened. And I was introduced to people I've never been introduced to. I think it's one of the best things I've ever done.
Okay. So a few things I want to dig into there. Why couldn't you have put those videos that you described on your Film Booth channel?
You could, but what will happen is if I make a video about how to explode your video, and then the next one is, 5 mistakes wrecking your landing page conversions, it's like you're bringing the wrong audience back. Like a massive amount don't have a business, don't want a business. They just want to learn how to get views. So they're not going to come back. And that's fine. It just means that video will flop compared to on the other channel, compared to other videos on the channel. Really, what you want is a channel where you're solving one problem in a way where as many of the viewers as possible are very interested in that problem. Because you'll bring the same people back, you'll build better relationships, you'll actually be able to help them better. And when you have a product to offer, it's going to be like the perfect product to solve their problem. So if you mix too many kind of niches and audience types, YouTube growth doesn't work. And also, like, I have a channel about YouTube growth. I can't do the thing I know to be wrong on that channel because my channel is an advert at the end of the day. People look at my views and go, oh, he knows what he's doing.
And by wrong, you mean videos that are less produced, less edited, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I have one channel which is all about, this is ironic, get as many views as you can, do it the right way. And I have another channel which is the opposite, which is like, okay, build a business. Don't be obsessed with YouTube. But it's only because I know that there's these different levels and I can't cater to both on the same channel because they have different problems.
Okay. I guess people look at, say, like, huge names, like a Joe Rogan, for example, will bounce everywhere between niches on whatever platform he's making content on. And I think they might think that they can replicate that same sort of thing and talk about this and talk about that. And they're interested in, whatever happens to be all in one place.
That is a problem, actually. I never really thought of it like that because people say, I see these channels talk about everything. And I'm like, well, they generally become these general interest channels. And that's kind of what Joe Rogan is. And you can be one of them. And Joe Rogan's got a big enough audience, but what problem does he solve? If he was to sell a product, what would he sell? How to make a podcast? Like, what percentage of his audience want to buy that? I don't know. And then the more general your offer, so let's say he's talked about 5 different topics over and over again, and he makes a product that solves one of these problems out of the 5. Well, that's only a small percentage of his audience that are going to be interested in buying it. And because he's not spoken about it time and time again, he's not the expert on that. He just knows it. So what you find is the general channels, they do exist and they'll cover multiple topics. They launch a product. It has to be low ticket because their audience is massive. And they also might be all made up of different people. They're not known as the expert on it. And they've not continually helped people solve this problem. So they're not known as the problem solver for that. Whereas you get the smaller channels who have just gone to town, who are going, right, it's 5K. And they sell a ton of them because the viewers already trust them so much. So it's a trap wanting to be a general channel. And the advice is start off niche and then go general. I don't know why you would ever want to go general. Like, unless you just want big fame, being niche is amazing. Like, once you've built it and you've got a following, you can just chill. Like, it's crazy.
So would you say your Creator Booth channel is more valuable to you, even though it's got a 10th of the following?
No, but it's not far off. But I only have that following because I grew a personal brand on Film Booth, right? So I'm not sitting here being like, I grew this channel with some special strategy. I didn't. I did everything that I probably wouldn't advise if you were trying to grow a channel right now. But I can do that because I have a personal brand on another channel. That's one of the luxuries of putting the slog in for years. But what I would say is the people watching it value me more. I get messages like, people value you more if you tell them something and they can now buy their children school books. When they just get views, yeah, cool, it's a kick, right? It's like, oh, great. But I've had messages from people where they've told me they were crying as they're typing because I've paid for an operation. Yeah, it's nuts. Like, I get them every day. It's pretty cool. And that's more fulfilling for sure. But I needed the other channel to get the result with my second channel for sure.
If you had to start all over again, and you've sort of described it to some extent what you describe other people would do, what would you do differently? Would you still have created Film Booth around the topic that you created it in, or would you have done something different?
Well, I would have created it on my topic based on whatever expertise I had. So I was in production, so I would have only had a few choices. But there would have been a few different things, a few different ways I would have looked at it. Firstly, I would have re-examined my goals, because I set a 10-year goal and then I hit it in 2. I was like, and it's weird because you hit your 10-year goal that you think is going to take most of your life, and then you're like, oh, is this it? So I would have set a very different goal. I don't think I would have been in such a rush. I think I would have said, why are you in so much of a rush to make it? You've got the rest of your life to crack this. Like, stop trying to kill yourself doing it. And I would have probably niched down more. I would have just gone in on thumbnails, I think, and just been like, I'm the thumbnail channel, I'm the thumbnail guy. And I would have just made every video about how to package, and I would have done thumbnail redesigns and live streams and emails. And I reckon you could have got to 7 figures just doing that without needing a massive following.
It's a piece of advice I give. I get loads of questions from people asking me about starting Facebook ads agencies or digital marketing agencies. And one of my pieces of advice is to be more specific and go more niche, because I didn't do that. And I think it's much easier if you're building a personal brand, for people who are in that space to find you, if you are more niche specific as opposed to more general. But also bringing it back to thinking about this as a business, you have there's so much more efficiency around product delivery. So we have clients in every industry imaginable, and that's great, and that's where we are. But there's a lot more learning that needs to take place when we're working on clients in a new space. There's a lot more variability. You can't customize and systematize things in the same way that you can if you're like, we run Facebook ads for this type of business and that's it, and we do it all day, every day.
The thing, if you do that, you just get so good at it, because all you're doing is repeating one thing over and over and over again. Whereas if you're trying to do 3, I think Charlie Morgan explained this really well the other day. He said, focus on one thing. You have one problem to solve, one way to solve it, one way to advertise it. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. If you have 3 problems to solve, you have 3 ways to do it, 3 different teams to build. It's 3 times 3 times 3. It's not 3 times the work. It's 9 times the work. And I was like, yeah, it's so true. That's it. But I tell you what the problem is. It doesn't make sense that that's how it works. So you look at it and you think, oh no, I want to get more views, because like going after less views, I don't think that's going to work. And then, one specific thing, like who's going to buy that? You only really realize it to be true once you've gone past that point and you look back and go, oh, would have been easier to do it the other way.
Yeah, definitely. So the potential downside to the one thing, the one channel approach, which I totally understand, I'm totally on board with. But what people will say is, but then your business is reliant on one thing. And that's something I wanted to ask you about. Your business obviously being reliant on YouTube to some extent. Like, does that make you nervous at all, being reliant on one platform that could change the rules or have something bad happen to it?
I often think about this. I'm like, what would happen if YouTube went? And the only thing I think is relief.
Okay.
Where I'm like, I'll do something different. And I was like, I don't see that as a scary thing. I think, what do I have under my belt? What experience do I have? I've built businesses, online courses. I love writing. I could teach you to write tweets, copywriting, sales. To me, like, change is scary. And when things get thrown at us that maybe look like they've wrecked our entire lives, people panic. But I think I'd just look at it as a positive and be like, cool, what can I try now? If you don't have that level of security, yeah, it's a different problem. But this is one of the things I teach creators. I'm like, you have to learn how to write, because when you learn to write a YouTube video, it's a 10x skill. Because if you do it in a certain way, you're not just learning to write a YouTube video, you're learning to write a tweet that's engaging, a LinkedIn post, social media content, email, job descriptions. You can use this same psychology on your Bumble profile. Like, it impacts your life everywhere. And you learn to edit, it's not quite the same. So writing is a very transferable skill, and I would probably just hop to Twitter or have a holiday, or I don't think it would bother me at all. Actually, if YouTube went, it would be a shame because it's an amazing platform, but I'd just do something else.
You wouldn't be gutted at all this, spent effort. Not that you haven't got any benefit from it, but that you wouldn't get as much as if the platform carried on.
I don't think YouTube's my end goal. This is part of whatever happens in my life. This is a phase of it. So if that phase ends, I'll just do something else. I did my first business, sold it, then went and did something completely different. Then I left that to do this. Like, I'm not afraid of just starting again. There's something quite fun about adventure and being passionate about starting something again. After 10 years, it starts to get boring, right? It's like, oh, it's a job, but you still like it, but it doesn't excite you in the same way.
That's a great attitude to have. I'm often finding myself playing devil's advocate, and I can see people are there like, yeah, but the leads we get from our YouTube channel, we'd have to let staff go, and we'd have to, they just see the panic, disaster.
Yeah,
it's a much
I'm a
nicer way of looking at
solopreneur,
it.
I guess, as they call it. So I have a couple of freelancers, Aaron and James, who help me, but I don't have, massive expenses. It's 95% profit, my business. So I don't have that level of concern. It's just, okay, cool. I'd probably make sure the guys who I work with had clients and look after them a bit. Be like, right, let me just hit my network to see if there's anything I can help you guys get. But otherwise, it sounds quite fun.
Okay. So we talked about people quitting too early. What other mistakes do people make when they're trying to grow a YouTube channel, whether it's for views and fame or for business purposes?
The biggest mistake people make is they make the video first and they don't come up with the packaging, the thumbnail and title first. And it takes a while to understand why this is such a critical error, but you have to work out what people will click on, because if you can't get a click, nothing works. So sometimes you can't make the video you want to make. You have to find a completely creative way to turn it into a title, which often means not saying what the video is even about. So what I usually do is I go and look for thumbnails and titles and then work out what video to put into it, because getting a click is so hard, rather than saying, I want to talk about this topic. And then I have a big list of thumbnail and title ideas, which I then look at and go, okay, are there any of these I can squeeze the topic I want to talk about in? Otherwise, we'll find something else. And the reason you have to do your thumbnail and title first is because you have to write the hook based on the thumbnail and title and it needs to relate to that thumbnail and title. Then you have to write the setup, the introduction, setting up what the value of the video is, right? Which needs to relate to that thumbnail and title. And then you move into your content and you pay everything off that you've promised in the thumbnail and title and the setup and the introduction. If you don't do that, you've literally just sort of built a house on some sand. It's going to fall over. And it never works. So that's the number one mistake.
I remember you gave me that advice a number of years ago, and I felt like I tried to implement it and then didn't implement that very well, and I was still sort of making videos. And it wasn't actually until I realized I was doing that when I tried to refer people to other videos. And I'd say, oh, I've talked about this feature in such and such video. You can find it on my channel. And they'd be like, which one? Because they search for the feature name and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's because I came up with the packaging that I knew would get clicks and then thought this feature will work for this packaging. Let's put that into that video.
That is the downside.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if I'd done it the other way around, I probably wouldn't be on this podcast.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. No, fair enough. Because it doesn't get anywhere near as many views.
Yeah.
There's loads of studies that now show that kids, an insanely high percentage of them, want to be YouTubers. I mean, what do you think about that?
I am very excited for the ones who do it right. So I'm 38 and I'm in Dubai. A lot of the guys I know are 25. One of my mates is doing $1 million a month. A lot of them doing $250,000 a month. I'm the oldest, poorest person I know. Right? Like, these guys are absolutely clearing up. And I chat to them. And my friends in the UK are about my age are like, hey, around these guys are so young. And I'm like, well, they're so experienced. They've been doing this for 8 years because they started at school. Like another guy I know, Noah, he got a check from Google when he was 13. His mum was like, where's all this money coming from? He was learning he was growing faceless channels, like outsourcing them with a team, right? And now he's doing, I think he does $500,000 a month. He's got software. He's 20. So I look at it and I'm like, wow, I was so curious when I was that age. And I remember trying to make a website and people laughing at me at school. Like I would have just fitted into this world where you can go online and you've got Sam Ovens' education for free, right? You've got all this business stuff. You can learn how to grow on Facebook. For the right people, it's just get rid of uni. It's pointless. They'll just make so much more if they don't go. For the wrong people, it's going to be fame. It's going to be a mental battle. It's going to be, doing weird stuff to get attention. But it's always been like that. The reality TV shows have been around forever. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity for people if they're willing to niche down, solve a specific problem, And I do think most people could probably become a full-time content creator, have an amazing life if they stuck to the plan I mapped out. Otherwise, yeah, it's probably just a giant mental health epidemic.
Okay.
But I think it's exciting more than negative.
For the kids that do it well, is that bad news for people like me and you, all this extra competition?
No, because of the seasons. So let's look at Iman Gadzhi, right? He's 24, however he is. And I have massive respect for the guy. He's doing like 30 million a year from YouTube. I don't watch his videos. I don't want business advice from a 24-year-old. If I met him in person, I'd be chatting like crazy.
Yeah.
I want someone older than me.
Yeah. Totally get that.
Because they have life experience that I don't have. And I value that. So there's so much room for people on YouTube. There's different personality types, having young people coming up. The only thing that kind of sucks is there'll be another version of me that will just be doing 15-hour days trying to grow up a YouTube channel. And I become old news, which I probably am now because I haven't posted. But I'm okay with that now. I'm like, do you know what? Old news is actually pretty good. As long as you did the work to build, your 10,000 people. I don't need to be new news again.
I've not thought of that before. So I really like that concept of like, you've got your cohort that's just they know you now. Like you've got them.
Yeah. I feel like I lived in such fear of losing this. And one of the best things was just not posting for 6 months and seeing only every area of my life improve. My happiness, my health. If you look at the videos from me a few years ago, my friend was like, why do you look younger now? I was like, because I'm so chilled. I have nothing to worry about. It's like a great life. Whereas back then, I was just living in fear. So stopping and realizing you don't actually need YouTube is a bit of a hack. Because now I'm ready to go back. But if I want to stop again, I'm just going to stop because I'll be like, I'll be okay. I'll work it out. I've done enough.
Okay. I can't have a conversation with you and talk about YouTube without asking about Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's insane. I worry for him in terms of what he's done. There's only one way down from the top, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I see what happens to people on a small scale when they get a 10 out of 10. So if you don't know YouTube ranks your last 10 videos and shows you if it's a 1 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And I feel like he's probably not had a 10 out of 10 for years because every video breaks a new record. But at some point, that's going to slow. And then if, I don't know enough about his business, but if it's all built on views and then the views stop and then suddenly, the team, this is getting expensive. I don't know how he puts up with the stress. I also think he's just hit a level of fame that I don't know how he copes with. Like he can't go out. So it is amazing what he's done, but at the same time, I worry for him. I kind of want him to be like, hey man, you should just have a few weeks off, have a holiday, like chill for a bit. This is a long game. But he really did show the world what is possible. I mean, 100 million views per video pretty much every time. A lot of them hitting 200 million views is insane. But it's interesting because they're not individual viewers. Like I was chatting to my mate and his nephew watches every time the new Mr. Beast video comes out, he watches it 10 times.
Wow. 10 times.
Yeah. So we look at those views and the kids are just watching them over and over again. And that's what kids do, right? They find something they like and they repeat. So he's very, very, very good and he's very inspirational. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, hope he's all right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm fascinated for his journey because obviously he's had this incredible, insane amount of success. And he is creating businesses around his YouTube channel. He's got Feastables with chocolate and there'll almost certainly be more. He was offered $1 billion, I believe, maybe 2 years ago for his channel and his whole business. He said no. And then I think a financial institution valued it and they're like, yeah, this is worth more like $15 to $20 billion. I guess it really highlights the potential of what someone with a YouTube following, I mean, he has the biggest in the world, but still what a YouTube following can do commercially, business opportunity wise.
It's massive. And he's smart in that he's looking at other products. But then there's another way of looking at this. So at some point, you need to turn around and go, I'm content, right? And this is one of the things that I struggle with YouTube is it's the best place to never feel content. Because what happens is you'll struggle to get the views and then a video will get 1,000 and you'll be like, oh my gosh, got 1,000 views. And you release the next one and it will get 200. Now the 2 videos before you were getting 10 and now you're not happy with 200 views. And you're like, oh, I failed. I didn't get 1,000. And this just keeps going. So you'll get to 100,000 views and then you'll have a video that does 50 and you'll be like, oh, this is such a waste of time. And you just go on this constant chase for like beating your last. So you're never ever content. And then you have like a creator like PewDiePie. So PewDiePie was the first to hit 100 million. He didn't do it with crazy effects. He just sat there chatting to a camera. It was raw personality. And he's quit. He's like, I make videos now whenever I want. I don't need to work. He literally just started drawing the other day and was like, I'm drawing now and I'll just talk about drawing. And I was like, he won YouTube. He's rich. He's moved to a place where he's not famous in Japan. He's not getting hounded, right? So he's not got that level of fame chasing him. And he looks really happy. And you can tell he just doesn't care about getting views. And I was like, I feel like you've won, but everyone else is like chasing playing the hamster wheel game. At some point, you got to go, I've done enough now. And that's actually why I think people are much better off once they hit a certain level, just taking a pause and going, oh, maybe I have done enough.
I guess when it's
feel like you've done enough, it's because it feels good.
And when you're chasing more and more, especially if you're advising someone be niche specific, there becomes a limit. Like I feel that I would say the average video on my Facebook ads channel gets about 30,000 views. Some are going to be 200,000, some are going to be 7,000, you know, but probably average about 30,000. I'm not sure how much more there is to be got from that size audience. There's only a handful of million.
You'd have to start making challenge-based content. Let's say, for example, you took a complete stranger and you generated them 10 grand as fast as you could using Facebook ads, and you document a story and you do a challenge. That then becomes a mass market video that my mum might watch. And then you don't pump it full of education. You have one point in the story, you document the struggle and what happened, and you just put in very light bits of information so it doesn't overwhelm anyone. Everyone just wants to know, did you do it? And that's how you can get massive views in a lot of the business niches. That's kind of what I used to do. If I wanted to try and get like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views or millions, I'd tell a story. If you watch it, you don't learn anything. There's like a couple of points in it, but it's designed to be something people just sit back and watch. So it is possible, but that means 6 months of work.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
then
like,
the people might not be,
do?
the ultimate objective of my channel is to drive leads and customers for our business. And if I'm sticking to education, you can more or less guarantee the people watching that are going to be target market appropriate. Whereas with that, that's right. Likely to not
But it's
be.
a wider net. So a lot of people discovered me through the wide net, just making this kind of entertainment story-based stuff. And you can mix it up and be like, okay, this one's designed to go wider, bring in a bigger audience. The next one I'm going to niche down a bit. But then again, you have to mentally be prepared for that. You can tell yourself that, and a video will blow up. And then the next one, you're like, I'm making this for a smaller audience. And even though you know it won't get more views, you'll still be like, I didn't do very well.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah. Even though you knew it was going to happen, it still hurt when it actually did happen. Yeah. Okay. AI created content. Is that something that people trying to grow on YouTube should be concerned about?
It's going to be good in terms of like, it's going to be fun, some of the stuff we're going to be able to do with our own videos. I just don't know what, like, part of YouTube is that you bond with a person and you have there's 5 different people talking about Facebook ads, right? And they're all giving the same information. Which one do you watch? We just watch the one that you like, really, the one that feels more like you, makes you laugh or whatever. So AI is not there yet. I don't know if it ever will be. But also, if you know you're watching AI, it just feels fake. So what's actually happening in some niches at the moment is there are some niches where people don't appear in the thumbnail. And, you test this. Should I be in the thumbnail? Shouldn't. But some niches, I know a creator in particular who's like, he was never in his thumbnail. And he was like, I need to put myself in my thumbnail because my niche is now flooded with faceless AI content. And people are actively trying to avoid it. So he's like, just by being in my thumbnail, they now know this is a human. And I had the same experience. I was searching for something and I kept getting all these like AI robotic voice search-based videos. And I was like, oh, I don't want this. So I just scrolled down until I saw a guy, clicked on him. And I was like, okay, this is better. But I think in the future, and going back to your question earlier where you said about, do you worry about YouTube not existing? I was like, well, there's a very real possibility I'll be out of a job because of AI.
Right, yeah.
So this is why I've thought about it and I'm kind of at peace with it. I'm like, there's other stuff I'll do. I'll just retire. And I think it's anyone's guess right now. But I think right now we can use it like ChatGPT for analyzing comments. I copy and paste. I'll go to a creator's video that's blown up, copy all the comments, paste it into ChatGPT and be like, what are the patterns in the comments? And it will tell me, okay, everyone liked it because of this and that. And this is what people didn't like. then you can bring that into your video. So AI is a great tool at the moment that we can use, but I'm not concerned about it being much more than that for a few years yet, I don't think.
Yeah. I had someone the other day say that no one would ever watch an AI football match. Like if it was 11 AIs versus 11 AIs, whether it was in the real world or digitally, people wouldn't be interested. They'd want
let's have a look at that.
People.
So if I going back to when I was a kid, FIFA 98 came out. Did you play that one? World to World Cup. That's a good one. If someone had said to me in 20 years' time, you won't be playing this, you'll be watching other people play it on a screen, I'd have been like, why would you watch someone else play a computer game? It still blows my mind that people do it. But at the same time, there's wrestling. We all know that that's fake, but it's so fun to watch still. So I agree, but I also look at it and think they could just tell, if they can get really good at storytelling, it's wrestling and it's gaming. It's that, we know it's fake, but we don't care.
Okay. I just sort of heard that and thought, yeah, I agree, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's probably more of a concern right now for other areas like Google's. They're making all the changes, aren't they? Which is hitting everyone's blogs, trying to prepare for the sort of wave of AI content. But we'll wait and see.
Okay. Clickbait gets views, but can harm reputation. Where's the line and how do you find it?
So clickbait is when you don't deliver on the promise delivered in the thumbnail and title.
Okay.
That's it.
So
you might argue that my video, which is like this wrecks 90% of YouTubers' growth, is clickbait. But it's clickable because I can prove the numbers. So I could write a setup that's like, and I have used numbers like that in my titles before, but it was usually based on consulting calls where I'd be like literally 90% of people have the same problem. So you can caveat it. You can write a setup that undoes it. If it is completely irrelevant, then yeah, and you don't pay off the things that you've delivered in the thumbnail and title or even mention them, it's clickbait. But it's basically just copywriting this. It's newspaper headline, like headlines, right? It's in the UK years ago, there was a headline called Freddie Starr ate my hamster. And all he did, this comedian put a hamster in his mouth, and the Sun newspaper put that headline, and everyone bought it to see what happened. It's been around forever. It's just kind of sensationalized, interesting, big claims get clicks. It's the same in copywriting as well. So it just came quite late to YouTube, I think, and then kind of blew up when everyone realized how powerful it was.
Yeah, I'm often having a conversation with like my team about headline, titles for videos, being like, "Oh, maybe that's a bit far. Maybe that's okay. What can we say?"
I've had one ever I put out where someone commented saying this is clickbait, and I was like, he said why, and I was like, you're actually right. I agree with you. I'm going to change it. Otherwise, people don't seem to care. You get the odd person who pipes up and is like, oh, fed up with these titles like this. But I'm like, look, I teach this stuff. This is what I'm teaching people to do. I'm going to do the thing that works.
Yeah.
Sorry. You just can't worry about everyone, If you spend your life worrying about what 100% of people are going to think of you, YouTube's going to be a miserable place.
It's a nice, simple frame of working it out. Does it deliver on what you've got in the packaging?
Yeah, which is why you need to do it first. That's why. So you can come up with the most outrageous flipping statements in the world as long as you pay it off. And that's why you need to do it first.
Yeah. YouTube and mental health, and there's sort of two angles that come to mind. The first is the addictive nature on it. And I consider myself a disciplined person, but the amount of times I'm refreshing, YouTube Studio app and taking a look at metrics, things like that is far too much. And then the other side would be criticism in comments and negativity. Do you see people going through your program really struggling with either of those?
Yeah, everyone struggles with it. But I've come up with a really good solution. Never look.
Never look at your stats at all?
I haven't looked for... So if I have to go into my YouTube studio on my main channel, because sometimes I have to take screenshots stuff for videos, I do that when it loads and I go down into the corner and I click because the damage it does to you. So there's a few things you do. You can read comments when you release a video. You can come in. There's certain times I recommend measuring a video, but most people go in just to see have their subscribers gone up. Like what difference does that make to your day if they've gone up or not? It can only ruin it because it can only have not gone up. And if they go up, you're like, oh, cool, it went up 1 or 2, right? So It's the biggest distraction. You don't need the data at all. If you know how to come up with good thumbnails and titles and write good scripts, you'll get views. What most people are doing is going, oh, why didn't it work? It's like, well, it's either the idea, the thumbnail, the title, or the script. It's not the data. So the big channels who are optimizing for a 1% increase in views because that massively lifts everything, it's a good use of time. For info channels where you look at it and you're like, would that hour have been better spent looking at my landing page and just trying to write a better headline to grip people or work on the offer or just give better customer support to get testimonials? It's nearly always the other way. So look once a week max. If your video is blowing up, stay away from the comments, because when you get pushed to a new audience, you're going to get, I can tell you how fast my channel is growing based on the hate I get.
Yeah.
So you stay away from it. And then just don't check your data, delete it off your phone at all costs. Like, you cannot have that thing on your phone. It's so bad for your brain. And look as little as you possibly can. You'll be so much happier. I can't tell you the difference it makes.
Well, is a little bit of looking useful in terms of, let's say I've got an idea of how the latest video performed, and that's useful because it's going to inform on the
you want to
topics
look
I
in
create.
that case, but so let's say I'll look on the 3 hour mark. And then I'll make a decision, do I change the thumbnail and title based on impressions and views and right? And then I might look on the 24-hour mark. After that, I've got to stay out for a few weeks, or I'm hiring someone else to go in and do thumbnails and titles and split testing. But it's just not, I don't know a single professional full-time YouTuber who can take it. Most of them have other people who go in. Some have told me they've not been in. I know a guy who's got 2 million subscribers. He's like, I've not had the mental energy to go in since 100,000. So he's like, someone else just does my comments. It's bad. It's very bad. I wish YouTube would get rid of the 1 out of 10 ranking system, but it's beautifully gamified. Do you know what's even crazier? I know someone who's got a channel. I won't say what it is. And I said to them, I know someone in your niche doing $500,000 a month, and they wanted to get to 100 grand a year. And I said, I trust it's sitting there just waiting for you. And they said, we're going to build the business. We just want the 100K play button first, and then we'll work out the business. And I was like, and they were like 60K. And I was like, this is going to take you years. But that's how obsessed people are with that button and subscribe.
And it's for anyone, obviously most people watching this won't have one. It's very flimsy little, it's nothing special. Really
I kept mine in my box. Yeah. I don't even know where it is.
Yeah, it's nothing special.
But it's beautiful market. It's a beautiful way to run a company. If you look at your own company, get a reward system in, people love it.
And they work hard for it. I guess when I'm spending time looking at my data, I'm convincing myself that it's useful time, because I'm going, well, I'm analyzing whether or not I should make more videos like this or more videos like that.
Well, just looking at the view number, you don't need to look at any other data. You just look at the front and go, cool, that got more views. And you know what's funny is, so the more I chat to YouTube experts, the more I hear them say the same thing. I don't look at retention or click-through rate because you can't really determine it that much. So we just base stuff on views mainly now, because you can get a high click-through rate, which is, the more people click, the more you're supposed to get views. But it depends on who's clicked, what audience is clicked. So you can get a high click-through rate and low views, and you can get an amazing watch time and low views, all the things YouTube tells you need. And then you get a really low click-through rate and a really low watch time, but you get tons of views. So most people are looking at the data and they don't understand how to determine it. And so what they end up doing is making bad decisions and wasting time. And like you said, just convincing themselves that this is the place they should spend their energy. If you just put that into ideation and thumbnails and titles, you'd probably just get better results. Or you definitely would.
Yeah. And I guess the different forms can hit different people. So I would say I can deal quite well with comments, whether they're negative or otherwise. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But the data, that side really gets me. The constantly looking at the stats. I'm a sucker for that one. So
just try it. Don't go in for 2 weeks. Just ignore it.
And take that YouTube Studio app off my phone.
Yeah, I deleted that years ago. I made a video about it as well. I'm not sure YouTube are probably not very happy with it, but that's one in my course. I'm like, this is you have to get rid of this. Do not have it on your phone at any cost. But do you know what the worst thing about it is? It doesn't actually give you the data you're supposed to measure. It gives you broad data that doesn't actually help. So the data you're supposed to look at is only in advanced mode, which is like the main dashboard on a computer. the stuff it shows you in there you shouldn't be making your decisions on.
It's interesting as you're saying that. Obviously, I have an agency where the primary service we offer is Facebook and Instagram advertising. I don't have any. I would never have that on my phone. I'd never have like our client stuff on my phone and check that for the exact same reason as you're talking about. Like that seems mental, but yet for some reason I'm doing it to myself with the YouTube side of things.
It just makes you feel productive. It's like, oh, I'm doing some work here, but it just messes your head big time.
If people are trying to decide, let's say they do have a business and they're trying to decide whether or not YouTube could be a good marketing avenue for them, growing a channel organically as opposed to advertising, are there ways that or methods you have to work that out?
Yeah. So usually if you just show me your channel, I could probably say, yes, this is a good opportunity or not, or your niche. On a more general approach, so B2B, but business to entrepreneur, business to decision maker, it's an amazing platform. Business to marketing manager, it's not a good platform. So basically, you're giving people information, so you need to make sure that your viewers are hungry for information. The average marketing manager isn't going home at night and going, cool, I'm going to swat up on Neil Patel for the next 6 hours, because they're not getting paid to do that, right? Whereas the average business owner is like, oh my gosh, I have to learn this stuff, otherwise I ain't going to make any money. So B2B, where you're talking to decision makers, is very good. And then B2C works too, so long as you've got, a product that you can sell to them. It might be a physical one, or it might be something like information-based that solves a problem. But you do find like coaches, consultants, those guys can do amazing on YouTube. Agencies can do good. And then people who make content about like music production, crafts, like hobby stuff, that they can also like create fantastic businesses. And then every now and then you come across one that's like great. Like I worked with a guy in Canada who did industrial real estate advice in Canada. And he was getting like 300 views per video. I remember chatting to him and he was like, yeah, I'm almost too busy at the moment. Like I might cut back on the content. Because he was the only person talking about it. And he was like, this is insane. Like I'm a big deal in this tiny pond now.
Yeah. And in that industry, the customers that are working with him, I imagine, are very valuable. Industrial real estate.
Like one bit of business was, paid off. But he was like, oh yeah, no, it's amazing. Like, and they love it. They get this the only channel about this, so they're obsessed with it.
Is that a part of the equation? Average customer value? Does it want to be high, or is that?
I call it value per view. So some niches, the value per view is very high. Some it's very low. Again. So real estate, for example, the value per view in Dubai, like I chat to one of the guys who's the Dubai real estate channel, and I've said to him, like, your network of viewers is insane. There's probably billionaires watching this. There's guys in 9 figures thinking, oh, maybe we should invest in buy, and they might watch your videos. Like, so the network watching you in some niches can be incredible. And if you can find one where there's not much competition. Weirdly, the real estate niche in Dubai, they're all on Instagram. There's only like 3 or 4 channels, and they can grow businesses super quick because of it. So yeah, you need to think about that, the value per view, and then maybe look at it as like a views multiplier. Oh, I only got 100 views, but 100 are the right people, and each one of them is worth $1 million. So that's a 10x or a 20x multiplier, so I got 10,000 views or whatever.
Yeah. It's like the channel, I think it's called The Jet Business, comes to mind, where the guy who has a private jet brokerage, right? And it's like, I imagine there's lots of people just looking, but I also imagine there are some people watching that who might be thinking about buying a private jet.
He's done a great job, right? Because what he's doing right now is he's appealing to the target audience, showing he's super credible. He's also teaching a mass market sales. So at some point he could probably switch and create an info product on how to generate high ticket sales and charge a lot for it. And I've watched him and I'm like, damn, this guy's good. The guy with the big video wall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when he was in a video, like that went round my network and we shared it and we were like, check out this guy's sales skills. Like he's so good. So he's potentially got another offer he could one day move into if he wanted. I imagine jets is probably a bit more lucrative at the moment.
I'd imagine, talk about only needing 1 or 2 bits of business to cover, all the costs of a YouTube channel forever, basically.
Yeah.
What about the YouTube world that we haven't discussed sort of drives you mad?
The main thing is really what I see it do to people's brains. I see a lot of like very talented people get hit with imposter syndrome because the views don't add up. And I see a lot of people struggle with, the validation of this video didn't do well, and they really beat themselves up. That's the thing I hate about it. Otherwise, it's flipping amazing. There's no platform like it on earth. Like, to me, it's the ultimate. It's evergreen. So you make one video, 3 years later, it's still growing your channel, bringing in subscribers, growing your business, your email list. The viewers connect with YouTube creators on a way deeper level because it's not like a 10-second video. The community you can build. And also in terms of the platform itself, they don't change things much. So like Google, right? Oh, we're just going to change everything. So you went from ranking number 1 to nothing, Oh, great. I get business from it because they're like, my blog's gone and we need to take YouTube more seriously. And then you got TikTok who are like, oh, let's just, whack a shop in all of a sudden and let's just push that stuff. And America might ban us. And then Instagram changes the bar all the time. YouTube's just the same. It's like, just make stuff people click on and are interested in. And every now and then something might change a bit, but it's very, very predictable and long-term for that reason. So, and I don't hear YouTubers going, I really want to crack TikTok.
Yeah,
I get it the other way around because they know how to do it because they've got the skills. Well, the TikTokers are like, oh, how do I get people to like keep watching me? Because it's not just about having one line, and then stringing people on for 30 seconds and then giving them a really unsatisfying payoff. It's a bit of an art. So I think if you really want a long-term marketing strategy that can exponentially grow a business within some might be 12 months, might be 3 years, whatever, it's the ultimate.
I would second that. It's done amazing things for my business, the platform. What would you say to someone, and I imagine there are people in my audience that would think that would say, what's the point growing a YouTube channel, putting in all that time and effort? I could just run ads on YouTube.
That's a good question. And I would argue just do that. But what happens when you turn them off? And also, what happens when you burn through that audience? I get tons of people basically doing ads who are like, I want organic. They also the personal brand isn't the same when you go from ads. You just don't have that same community. It's all very transactional, right? It's like, here's me, watch my VSL for 3.5 hours, now bye. And then I don't care about you if you don't. Whereas think about some of the guys who buy my stuff have been watching for 3 years. So they started out new, they had no money, they started watching, they built a business, and now they're like, I can finally afford you, Ed. And then they buy. With ads, are you getting that if you're not kind of keeping people interested? So both is probably the ultimate. And actually, when I speak to the ads guys who do YouTube ads, they're like, you've got to have, even just having content that doesn't have many views, just like proof of credibility and knowledge, long form videos with your YouTube ads, it makes all the difference now.
Yeah, we run a lot of ads, obviously, on different platforms, Meta primarily. And the best clients possible are those that come to us where they already have a personal brand and a following, and they haven't been running any ads before, and we just know we're going to be able to tap into that. We're going to be able to make sure that we can put the offer in front of the right people, and it's going to fly. We've done that a number of times. So both. That's what I do.
That's the thing with YouTube, right? It's the same. Like, even if you just started an email, So I taught someone this like email trick I used to get signups. He got 1,900 in the first 24 hours. And I was like, for many people, you could probably just send an offer to that straight away and cash in.
Yeah.
He didn't, but he already had a big list. But yeah, you can do it as long as you've got that goodwill built up. Anything, and that's what's cool about YouTube. Like, pretty much anything you try will work as an offer at some point. Even bad offers get bought. I mean, I'm pretty sure people don't even read landing pages sometimes. I had a guy buy one of my old products, which was literally just about thumbnails. And he said, Ed, can I get a refund? And he was like, I really like you. I'm so sorry to ask, but there's nothing in this about editing or writing or presenting. And I was like, oh, do you mind just showing me like why you think there was? I'm confused because the marketing is about thumbnails. And he was like, oh, I didn't read the landing page. I was like, what did you do then? He goes, I just hit buy. I was like, it's $1,000. He's like, yeah, I just trusted it would be good. I was like, I'll give you your money back. And then he sort of was like, oh, I'm sorry about that. I was like, don't worry, it's fine, but maybe read the marketing.
Yeah. But I mean, that shows the power of a personal brand though, doesn't it? And the relationship that had been built up, he just trusted and wanted to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, again, if you do ads, right, you've got to have a sales team a lot of the time for a high ticket product, because you ain't going to convert them just sending an email out. Whereas I can just send an email and people just buy. That's it on a high ticket product. And that's, again, the guys who do ads are kind of envious of that. It's like, oh, that sounds so easy. It's like, well, it is easy now, but the 4 or 5 years it took me to build that wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. What do you say to the person that, again, let's say they have a business, they want to grow a YouTube channel for the marketing benefits that it provides, the lead sales, etc., but they don't at all want to be famous?
That's fine. Stay niche. That's the best way to be. You'll be content. Just go in on your niche. Like, you can be on camera and not be famous. Trust me, it's going to take a long time for people to start noticing you in the street. You need a lot of views. This happened to me twice ever.
Me too.
And that was weird.
Exactly the same. For my Facebook ads channel, twice. Other than when I go to like a marketing conference, and then it's different. But in just regular life, twice. And you probably had more views than me, but I think my Facebook ads channel has had like 16 million views. So yeah, it's not a lot.
I was in a pub in St Albans. His name was Omar, and he came up to me and he was like, I was coming out the toilet. He was like, Ed. I was like, and my mates were with me. They're like, oh, what's going on? And he was like, oh, what's your channel? I was like, oh. He's like, I've literally just been watching it. And he pulled out his phone. And then I was like, I'll chat to him. And I walked off. My mates were like, I think it's the first time they've ever asked, wait, what do you actually do?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, now you want to know, eh? I was like, it's like, yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah. I had one where the guy he obviously couldn't remember my name. He came up to me in a cafe and he goes, I know what you do for a living. And I was like, okay. And he actually had a business and he wanted to ask about services and stuff, but he said, I've seen your YouTube, but he obviously couldn't remember my name, and it was quite funny. But yeah, but I guess what you're saying, and like both our experiences would say this, that you can have millions of views and still not you're not going to
get it. I think Mr. Beast said 3 million subscribers is where you start to get noticed a bit more. 10 is where you're like, okay, when I go out, I'm probably going to get noticed by someone. 100 million, it's like, it's fame, right? Most niches, if you get 1 million views a month in a lot of niches, that's an insane amount of views. But it's not something you should be concerned about.
How'd you get started?
Okay, so there's different ways. The first way is just to throw up a camera, right? Film yourself, try and edit it, try and put something together, and just put it up. Don't care about anyone watching it. Just get it made. Did you enjoy the process? You're going to find it very weird talking to a camera to start. You're not going to like the sound of your voice. You're going to be like, does that sound what I sound like? You're not going to like the way you look. It's all going to be a really uncomfortable thing. And then the question is, okay, would I happily put myself through this again? It will get way easier. Like, you'll lose all of that fear eventually. And if the answer to that is yes, then I'd probably start thinking, right, let's look at some research. So I'd go and look at other people in my niche, and I'd look at what they make to get views. Just click on most popular, look at the things that are kind of the most popular in the last couple of years, and then watch them. Just be like, okay, what are they doing? What do they talk about? What the trap most educators fall into is they'll go, I don't know if you had this. I had it. It's like, these guys are rubbish. Like, I could do way better than this.
Yeah, it's exactly. I remember doing exactly that. Going, like,
and then
it's
funny, right?
So
you like pack this video full of depth and it's rubbish, and then you're like, all they talk about is simple crap. And I gave off this like really in-depth theory. It took me a long time to realize that the reason channels do well is because they don't pack it through in-depth theory. It's mass market can't take that. So it's all about making people feel smart rather than showing how smart you are. So keep things very simple. That's what I would say to start. Don't try, get the foundations right. The foundations of presenting well, coming up with a good hook, a good setup, and just giving people enough information so they feel satisfied but want more. If you can master that as an art, it's 80% of the work done. That's the stuff that's going to get you further. And then just copy. So people hate this, but if you're new to this, just take the exact title of a big creator who's done well and just make your own version of that video, but try and put a different spin on it. That big creator is not going to care. People are like, oh, it's copying. It's like, they do not care. They've been copying other people. And I know that I talk to them and they're like, I copy small channels, and the small channels are copying them. So everyone's doing it. But it just means it's going to be like, what do I talk about? What do I make? That whole argument is gone. Just copy it and then try and make your own version of their thumbnail. You won't be anywhere near as good as them, so it isn't going to look like a rip-off at all. And then make your own version of that video and structure it in a really similar way. Just keep doing that for a bit. And then once you get into the flow of it, you can start going a bit deeper. But the key is to not go and build a set. So what most people do, they're like, I built this amazing studio and I went and bought loads of cameras. And so I have one camera, one tiny light that's broken. And I have one mic, which is here, and I haven't really been ever big on sets because they're a massive distraction. They make you feel like they're being productive. So keep everything simple and just focus on getting the videos out and building value. And that's the best place to start.
Yeah. When I think the very first conversation I had with you, when I was recording with a green screen behind me, it was just literally like a bit of green canvas I'd bought on Amazon. And that was my whole video background. Yeah. And that was it. And my light was a window. I just had a desk pushed up to the edge of the room and I was sat in front of the window. And when it was cloudy, I couldn't really record because it didn't look very good. I had to wait for sunny days. So yeah.
But in the business niche in particular right now, you're seeing creators with no editing, no lighting, just a webcam and just raw credibility and experience pushing through.
Yeah. And once they've got started and they've done that and they want to dig a bit deeper, I can strongly recommend both of your YouTube channels, Film Booth and Creative Booth. They've been very helpful to me. So I'd strongly recommend people check them out if they are interested.
Yeah, I'm going back to posting soon as well. So
I will eagerly await the new editions.
I got some new stuff.
Yeah. Well, Ed, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me. That's been really interesting, really helpful. And I think there'll be a lot of people in my audience that want to know how to get started, to grow on YouTube. And we've got some really good stuff there. So thanks a lot.
No worries, pleasure.
I love having chats like these, but I'd like to know what you think as well. So let me know in the comments below. If you want to watch another one of my podcast episodes, you can do so right here.